Hi, it's Rich from Planet PE and it's Thursday, which means video day. So sorry I've not been able to upload in the last 2 weeks, but we're going to do a series of videos today all about the cardiovascular system. So one of those topics that quite a few of you have asked for, and also on Twitter some of you have said that you are finding the most difficult. So that's what we're going to look at today. So today is all about the cardiovascular system. It is mock season, which means that suddenly some of you care about these videos more than you do the rest of the year. So let's have a look at the cardiovascular system and breaking it up to see what the questions are going to be asking and what you need to know. So the heart, okay, biggest part of the cardiovascular system, because the cardiovascular system is actually the heart, the blood and the blood vessels. So when we talk about blood vessels, we've got the capillaries, the veins and the arteries, but we'll come on to that in a sec. So with the heart, that is how you need to know about the heart. You need to understand the heart is broken up into 4 chambers. So what we have, sorry if I get looking down, we're doing a bit of drawing today. So we've got 4 sections that look like that. Now the left is the right and the right is the left. So it's imagine that it is on me and I'm looking down at my own heart. So on the paper, you actually draw it the wrong way around, okay? So as I've got on here. So the 4 chambers is that we have atrium at the top and ventricles at the bottom. Now the ventricles are the big pump. So they are the thing that is sending blood out of the heart and that is forcefully ejecting it. The atrium are just filling up. So they are literally, like my keep cup, it's gonna fill up with blood, it goes through and then it's pumped out by the ventricles. Okay, so we've got atrium and we have ventricles. That's the first part. So we've got these 4 different chambers as I have in my dodgy little diagram. Now, what you're going to need to do with that is understand the pathway of blood around the body. So it takes around about 60 seconds for a red blood cell to go around the body and be back in the heart again. So we need to understand where it goes, what pathway it does, and how it gets to where it gets. So we are going to start on our little journey in the left atrium. So we're going to start in this little bit here. Now the left atrium fills up with blood and goes through a valve. So we've got a valve that opens up and then allows blood to go through. Now that blood won't go back the other way because one function of a valve is to prevent backflow. So blood can only move in that one direction. So that's a key tip. So it then goes through into the left ventricle. So that is that part that is the pump of the heart. Now, with the heart, we've got those 4 sections and we deal in one side at a time. So we've got left atrium through the valve into the left ventricle. Now the left ventricle is that pump and it sends blood away from the heart. Now, blood is moved through what we call blood vessels, and it's moved through an artery, a vein, or a capillary. Now, if the blood is moving away from the heart, typically it moves through an artery. So the one that it moves through is called the aorta. Now the aorta is the largest blood vessel in the body and it supplies blood to the majority of the organs and the skin and the muscles and everything. So basically think of it as just in the body. So if I just update my little diagram for you. So it's going left ventricle through the aorta and that goes to the body, okay? So left ventricle through the aorta, and the aorta is actually up here, but it affects my diagram if I do that, so don't worry. So left ventricle out the aorta and through into the body. Now that blood, when it leaves the heart, is oxygenated, which means that it has lots and lots of oxygen, not a lot of carbon dioxide. Now the body's going to use that oxygen, because obviously when we're exercising, it's going to need the oxygen to ensure that we don't fatigue or create lactic acid and things like that. So that blood now becomes deoxygenated. So the body's used it, it goes now through a different blood vessel to go back into the other side of the heart. So it's now going through the body and it's now going through to the right hand side of the heart. So that travels through a vein because veins bring blood back to the heart. So arteries go away and veins visit the heart. And it visits the heart through something called the Vena Cava. Okay. Now, if you're doing BTEC, you'll understand that there is the inferior and superior vena cava, depending on if it's the top half or the bottom half of the body. At GCSE, you only need to know the vena cava. So if you're doing revision on some websites, some of it's nonsense. You just need the vena cava. Now, what happens from here is the blood goes into the right atrium, it fills up with blood, and once again, it goes through the valve into the right ventricle. Now, that valve again is there to prevent backflow. So we're now at this point where the blood is now in the right ventricle and it's deoxygenated. So again, it means that it's not got as much oxygen and it might be slightly heavier in carbon dioxide. So we need to go in and reoxygenate that blood. And the way that that happens is it goes from the heart through a blood vessel to the lungs. And what we look at with these blood vessels is that it's quite easy to understand if you get it. So it's going away from the heart. So again, just draw my diagram. So it's going through the right ventricle and it's going away from the heart, which means it must be travelling through an artery. Now, if it's going through an artery and it's going to the lungs, it must be the pulmonary artery. Now, basically, anything to do with pulmonary means lungs, okay? So the pulmonary artery. And what it's going to do is going to go through that artery and it's going to finish up in the lungs. Now, it doesn't actually go into the lungs, it just goes around it, because in one of the other videos you'll learn about gaseous exchange and it will change your mind, but just think of it at the moment as going to the lungs. So the lungs then diffuse oxygen through their semipermeable membrane, and we now then get rid of the carbon dioxide that we can breathe out, and then the oxygen goes back into the blood. So it now has to travel through a whole new blood vessel, and that next blood vessel is again pulmonary because it was at the lungs, and this time is a vein because, yep, you guessed it right, it's going back to the heart. So it's been used by the lungs. The lungs have breathed out or got rid of the carbon dioxide. They've absorbed the oxygen in our hemoglobin, and it's now going to go back to the heart to go and get pumped where it needs to pump. So the pulmonary vein goes all the way back to the left atrium. So it's going back to the left atrium, and that process just begins again. And what they say is it takes about 60 seconds for blood to go around the body. That is the cardiovascular system. But really, it's just the cardiac cycle, or the pathway of blood around the heart. Okay? We're going to do this in bits each week. Well, this week, because otherwise you never watch. So this week, it's purely about where blood goes around the body, or what we call the cardiac cycle. Now, our next one will be looking at how we might get some different results because of training and the things that might change. So as ever, thank you for watching. Thanks for subscribing. It's going up and up. Still trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. That's what we're aiming for. So please, if you're watching it, tell a friend. They can tell a friend. They can tell a friend. They can tell a friend. And we'll get millions. It'll be amazing. But more likely, just make sure you watch. If you're not sure on something, please comment below. Click that subscribe button and just make sure that you are revising for your exams, because that is why I'm here. Enjoy. If you need anything, hit us on Twitter. We're now on Instagram as well, by the way. We've only got 23 followers. Yeah, let's see how that goes. See ya.